Hello, Justin. Hello, Justin.
Hello, sir.
Okay, good. Justin, is everybody there?
Yes, sir. Yeah. So, sir, we played the food concept video for the first 5 minutes, and then you can take off from there. 11:05.
Okay. Everybody's coming on now. Hi, Mark.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, everyone.
Welcome back.
Thank you, sir. And you?
Thank you.
Good morning from Dakar.
Oh, it's Dakar. God, you're a traveling man.
Someone has to.
Yesterday it was Abidjan.
Abidjan.
That's right. Very
Yes,
good.
The flight was magnificently delayed, so it was a short night.
So was it here too?
Oh goodness, yes. What time is it in New York?
6 o'clock.
My sympathies, sir.
Oh, that's all right.
Welcome to Food
I've already
Concept.
exhausted.
We are a
the
leading
hotel
West
room
African
Nespresso,
food retailing company
stop.
with a focus on the quick service restaurants and baked goods. Since our inception back in 2000, our business has set out to challenge the status quo by delivering quality food products and services that appeal to modern West African customers. So, 2 decades later, with many learnings under our belt, our business vision remains clear: to be the most loved quick service restaurant and baked goods brands across West Africa. In line with that, we have 131 company-owned and franchise stores across Nigeria and Ghana. Let's take a look at a day in the life of Food Concept to explore one of the greatest success stories in this sector in the last 2 decades.
Health, safety, and consumer protection are of critical importance to Food Concept, which is why we were awarded the ISO 22000-2018, the latest certification based on food safety management system. We import nothing ourselves. Everything the business does supports grassroots entrepreneurship and goes back into the local economy one way or the other. Experience the unique blend of authentic West African spices used to create our soulfully spiced meals. capability always is a driving force in our business.
Well, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the time is 11:05. Let us rise for the national anthem. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you here today to attend the 19th annual general meeting of our company. To avoid interruptions, would you please ensure that all mobile telephones and other electronic devices are switched off? Also, to avoid any background noise, it is important that you mute all microphones when you are not speaking. Thank you. The quorum for this annual general meeting is members present in person or by proxy, holding not less than 50% of the issued share capital of the company. Before declaring the meeting open, may I call upon the registrar, Mary Stem, to announce to the meeting if a quorum has been duly formed. The registrar, please.
For this meeting, we received a total of proxies amounting to 97.48% of the total shareholding of the company. And the shareholders present also, for the shareholders present, we have 15. So I believe that a quorum has been formed. Thank you.
Thank you. This meeting having been duly convened and properly constituted, gives me great pleasure to declare it open at this time. I wish to inform you that in view of the COVID-19 pandemic and the restrictions on mass gatherings, and in line with the guidelines issued by the Corporate Affairs Commission on the holding of AGMs using proxies, this meeting is being held by proxy, further to the approval of the Corporate Affairs Commission. In addition, it is being streamed live for the benefit of shareholders, the regulators, and others who are not physically present. May I request at this time that Mr. Chibuzo Eke say the opening prayer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let's please stand up for opening prayer. And we pray in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Everlasting reality, we thank you for this great opportunity given unto us. We slept and woke up, and we journeyed all through to this place. Father, we thank you. Lord, we present our company before you. Lord, we pray the company will go from strength to strength. Food Concept will go from strength to strength. All of us will also grow from strength to strength. Lord, as we deliberate today, may what we deliberate, oh God, may it continue to bear more fruit in Food Concept and for all of us. This is our prayer in Jesus' name. Amen. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Eke. There are 8 items of business before you today. In accordance with our usual practice, members present will have the opportunity to review the operating results of our company for the year ended 31st December 2020 and participate fully in the proceedings. The seconder of each motion put to the meeting shall come from the floor, and there will be time for questions on any motion before it is put to the meeting for voting. Microphones with amplifying equipment have been placed strategically so that everyone present should be able to hear. 2 standing microphones are provided for questions and answers. No one should please touch the microphones for reasons of the current concerns about health and safety. I therefore request that those seconding motions of asking questions should speak clearly into the standing microphones. They should please commence by stating their names to assist the secretary in taking proper records. We shall also be taking questions sent by our shareholders via our YouTube and other media. The register of directors holding is available for inspection during the meeting in compliance with the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020. Before we proceed into the meeting, may I seize the opportunity to introduce to you the members of the Board of Directors who are here. Starting with myself, my name is Mr. Ayo Olagundoye, and I am honored and privileged to be the non-executive chairman of Food Concepts PLC. At the table in front of you, you have Mr. David Butler, the managing director and CEO of the company. There's David. Next to Mr. Butler is Mrs. Antonia Agboifo, an executive director of the company. Antonia. At the other end of the table is Mr. Babatunde Fajenrokun, a non-executive director of the company. In view of the COVID-19 pandemic, our other directors are unable to be present physically, but are joining the meeting virtually. They are Mrs. Runa Alam, the non-executive director of the company, Mr. Babakar Kar, the non-executive director of our company, Mr. Mark Stoneham, a non-executive director of our company, and Mr. Adefolari Ogunsoya, a non-executive director of our company. Also at the table, we have Mrs. Josephine Johnson, the very capable company secretary and legal advisor of our company. I would also like to introduce the audit committee at this time. Mr. Babakar Kar, chairman, Mr. Adefolari Ogunsoya, Mr. Peter Eyanuku, Mr. Salau Mohammed Adebanjo. I would like to welcome the representatives of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Mrs. Rosemary Census. I also welcome the CEO of Meristem Registrars, Mrs. Martina Osage. Further, I welcome the representative of the External Directors, Mrs. Tope Onitiri from KPMG Professional Services. The Corporate Affairs Commission has informed us that they will not be able to join the meeting physically, but will join us virtually. I also wish to welcome all the shareholders, all our members present. We should draw the attention of shareholders to special measures that we have taken due to the COVID-19 pandemic. In compliance with the federal government and state government directives, the number of people present at this meeting is within the limit of 20. In addition, we have provided sanitizers, masks, and gloves at the venue, as well as the checking of temperatures of individuals and ensuring the prescribed social distancing between those attending. Now to the formal part of our AGM. The notice convening the meeting has been issued in accordance with the provisions of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020 and the Articles of Association of the company. Copies of the notice are available here at the venue. I call upon the company secretary to please read the notice convening this meeting. Mrs. Johnson.
Good morning, distinguished shareholders. Good morning. Notice is hereby given that the 19th Annual General Meeting of Food Concepts PLC will be held at Moremi Hall, Sheraton Hotels, Mobolaji Bankantoni Way, Ikeja, Lagos, on Wednesday, the 28th of July, 2021, at 11 a.m., when there will be transacted the following businesses. Can you hear me? Okay. Ordinary business. Number 1, to present the audited financial statements of the company for the accounting period ended 31st December 2020, and the report of the directors, auditors, and audit committee thereon. Number 2, to re-elect directors. Number 3, to authorize the directors to determine the remuneration of the independent directors. Number 4, to disclose the remuneration of managers of the company. And number 5, to elect members of the audit committee. Special business, to consider and if thought fit, to pass as the following resolution, an ordinary resolution. Number 1, to fix the remuneration of the directors. And secondly, to consider and if thought fit, to pass the following resolutions as special resolutions. Number 1, that the maximum number of directors on the board be increased from 9 directors to 11 directors, and that the company's articles of association be hereby amended to increase the size of the board from 9 to 11. Second special resolution, that the company's articles of association be and are hereby amended in the form and content set out in the annexure hereto. This notice is given by order of the board, dated the 21st day of June 2021, and signed by the company secretary. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Johnson. Before moving to Item 1 of the agenda. I'd like to bring to your attention the chairman's statement, which is contained on page 7 of the annual reports and accounts already circulated. May I take this statement as read? May I ask, do you agree we should take the statement as read? Thank you very much. I believe we have a unanimous response. Thank you, distinguished shareholders. Ordinary business. We will now move to item 1 of the agenda, at which point the shareholders will have the opportunity to ask any questions on the reports and the accounts. To ensure that we answer your questions accurately, please refer to the page on the reports and accounts to which your questions relate. I would also urge each questioner that they should restrict themselves to one question only, so as to afford other shareholders the opportunity to contribute. Item 1 of the agenda is to lay before the meeting the annual report and accounts of the company, including the audited financial statements for the year ended 31st December 2020, together with the reports thereon of the directors and auditors and the audit committee thereon. And this is the annual accounts. May I now ask the representatives of the auditors, KPMG Professional Services, to read the report to the audit of the auditors for the 2020 financial year to the members present. KPMG, please.
Thank you, Chairman.
Dr. Onitiri. Yeah.
Good morning, Board of Directors, shareholders, and other members present here today. My name is Temitope Onitiri. I am your audit partner, and I would like to seek your permission and that of the board to read the opinion, basis for opinion, key audit matters, and other matters. Do I have your permission? Yes. Thank you so much. Our audit opinion can be found on pages 40 to 44. Independent Auditor's Report. To the shareholders of Food Concepts PLC, report on the audit of the consolidated and separate financial statements. Opinion. We have audited the consolidated and separate financial statements of Food Concepts PLC, the company, and its subsidiaries together, the group, which comprise the consolidated and separate statements of financial position as at 31st December 2020, the consolidated and separate statements of profit or loss and other comprehensive income, the consolidated and separate statements of changes in equity, the consolidated and separate statements of cash flows for the year then ended, and the notes comprising significant accounting policies and other explanatory information. In our opinion, the accompanying consolidated and separate financial statements give a true and fair view of the consolidated and separate financial position of the company and its subsidiaries as at 31st December 2020, and of its consolidated and separate financial performance and its consolidated and separate cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with International Financial Reporting Standards, IFRS, and in the manner required by the Companies and Allied Matters Act, CAMA 2020, and the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria Act 2011. Basis for opinion. We conducted our audit in accordance with International Standards on Auditing, ISAs. Our responsibilities under those standards are further described in the auditor's responsibilities for the audit of the consolidated and separate financial statements section of our report. We are independent of the group and company in accordance with International Ethics Standards Board for Accountants, International Code of Ethics for Professional Accountants, including International Independent Standards, ISPA Code, together with the ethical requirements that are relevant to our audit of the consolidated and separate financial statements in Nigeria. And we have fulfilled our other ethical responsibilities in accordance with these requirements and the ISBA code. We believe that the audit evidence we have obtained is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis for our opinion. Key audit matters. Key audit matters are those matters that, in our professional judgment, were of most significance in our audit of the consolidated and separate financial statements of the current period. These matters were addressed in the context of our audit of the financial statements as a whole and informing our opinion thereon, and we do not provide a separate opinion on these matters. 1. Impairment assessment of intangible assets, brand rights. Refer to significant accounting policies, Note 4.9, and related disclosures, Note 19, of the consolidated and separate financial statements. Key audit matter. As disclosed in Note 19 to the financial statements, the carrying amount of 1.27 billion, 2019, same amount, representing the company's intangible assets, Chicken Republic brand rights, is significant. The brand rights have an indefinite useful life, and in line with IS 36, impairment of assets, intangible assets with an indefinite useful life should be tested for impairment annually, whether they are indicators of impairment or not. Judgment is required in estimating the recoverable amounts of the brand rights. The estimation of recoverable amounts involves making assumptions regarding the future performance of the company, markets and economic conditions. Inherent uncertainty is also involved in preparing forecasts, discounted future cash flow projections, and in determining an appropriate discount rate. The significance of the amounts involved, the judgment required, and the uncertainties inherent in estimating the recoverable amount makes this a key audit matter in the consolidated and separate financial statements. How the matter was addressed in our audit. Our audit procedures in this area included, among others, we held inquiry sessions with management to understand the process and procedures for the identification of indicators of impairment of the brand rights. We engaged our internal valuation specialists to test the reasonableness and appropriateness of management's key assumptions and judgments made in the impairment calculations. Those key assumptions include the discount rates, long-term growth rates, and revenue forecasts. We challenged management's assumptions, judgments, and decisions made in the calculation of the recoverable amount by comparing them with historical performance and industry trends. We assessed the reasonableness of the cash flow model using the relief from royalty method, RRM. We also assessed whether the disclosures about the sensitivity of the outcome of the impairment assessment to changes in key assumptions reflected the risk inherent in the valuation of intangible assets. We checked that relevant disclosures to significant judgments and estimates made were in line with IS 36. Key audit matter 2, recognition and valuation of share-based payment schemes. Refer to significant accounting policies, Note 4.16, and related disclosures, Note 27.3 of the consolidated and separate financial statements. What's the key audit matter? Senior executives of the group and the company received remuneration in the form of share-based payments. These are the Restricted Stock Unit Plan, RSOP, and Management Incentive Plan, MIP, that entitle the employees to receive shares and share options respectively. There is significant subjectivity and judgment involved in respect of the estimates inherent in the valuation of the schemes and the calculation of the relevant charges. The accounting and disclosure requirements involve a high degree of complexity, and there is a risk that the schemes are not adequately reflected and disclosed in the financial statements. We have determined this to be a key audit matter in the consolidated and separate financial statements due to the complex nature and the extent of estimation involved in the share-based payment valuation. How the matter was addressed in our audit. Our audit procedures in this area included, amongst others, we made inquiries of the directors to understand the share-based payments in place and inspected communications to employees, including agreements and award letters. We obtained management computation of its share-based payments and agreed key inputs such as the contractual terms of the scheme, number of employees and executives granted shares, number of shares granted per employee, official grant date of the shares, vesting period for the scheme, and performance conditions to supporting documents. We involved evaluation specialists to challenge the appropriateness of the methodology used by management and recomputed the employee share options fair value using the Black-Scholes methodology to estimate the fair value of the share options granted to the senior executives of the group and the company with reference to the performance condition in line with IS 36. We recomputed the amount of benefits earned by employees under the scheme and the related deferred tax impact and compared with the amounts recorded in the financial statement. We assessed the adequacy of the disclosures in the financial statement in line with IFRS 2. Other matter relating to comparative information. The consolidated and separate financial statements of Food Concepts PLC, the company, and its subsidiaries, together the group, for the year ended 31st December 2019 and 31st December 2018, from which the statement of financial position as at 1 January 2019 has been derived, excluding the adjustments described in Note 39 to the consolidated and separate financial statements, were audited by another auditor who expressed an unmodified opinion on those statements on 13 May 2020. As part of our audit of the consolidated and separate financial statements as at and for the year ended 31st December 2020, we audited the adjustments described in Note 39 that were applied to restate the comparative information presented as at and for the year ended 31st December 2019, and the consolidated and separate financial statement of financial position as at 1st January 2019. We were not engaged to audit, review, or apply any procedures to the consolidated and separate financial statement for the years ended 31st December 2019 or 31st December 2018, not presented herein, or to the consolidated and separate statement of financial position as at 1st January 2019, other than with respect to the adjustments described in Note 39 to the consolidated and separate financial statements. Accordingly, we do not express an opinion or any other form of assurance on those respective consolidated and separate financial statements taken as a whole. The adjustments described in Note 39 are appropriate and have been properly applied. Finally, report on other legal and regulatory requirements. Compliance with the requirements of Schedule 5 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act, 2020, we have obtained all the information and explanations which, to the best of our knowledge and belief, were necessary for the purpose of our audit. In our opinion, proper books of accounts have been kept by the company, so far as appears from our examination of those books. The company's statement of financial position, statement of profit or loss, and other comprehensive income are in agreement with the books of accounts. The audit's opinion has been signed by me, Temitope Onitiri, on behalf of KPMG Professional Services. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. May I call on Mr. Babakar Kar, Chairman of the Audit Committee, to read the Audit Committee's report for 2020, which you may find on page 38 of the annual report. Mr. Kar.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone. So I'll be reading the report. I'll be reading the report of the Audit Committee for the year ended 31st December 2020. In compliance with the provision of Section 404(7) of the Companies and Allied Matters Act of 2020, we, the member of the Audit Committee of Food Concept PLC, having carried out our function under the Act, confirm that the accounting and reporting policies of the company as contained in the audit consolidated financial statement for the year ended 31st December 2020 are in accordance with the legal requirement and agreed ethical practice. We also confirm that the external auditors, KPMG Professional Services, have issued an unqualified opinion of the year ended 31st December 2020. In our opinion, the scope and planning of the audit for the year ended 31st December 2020 was adequate, and we confirm that the responses by the management to the external auditors' finding on management matters was satisfactory. Members of the audit committee are Mr. Lanre Fabuni, who ceased to be a director in 28 April 2021, Mr. Babakar Kar, chairman, Mr. Peter Yanuku, member, Mr. Salah Mohammed Adebanjo, member. Thank you.
Thank you. May I now invite questions on this report? Questions from the floor or by media?
Okay, Mr. Chibuzo
I would
Eke.
request, please, that the company secretary, points to the particular member that's going to ask a question.
Okay. Yes,
And that
we
it
shall be
will go to
calling on. Sorry, we shall be calling on Mr. Chibuzo Eke.
Once again, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, the regulatory authorities here present, fellow distinguished shareholders. I say good morning. Chairman, I want to start my comment by appreciating the effort of the board and management. Because going through the report, I saw a lot of improvement in line with what is happening here in this country now, talking about this global crisis, which also has to do with the COVID-19. And also the report we are considering today is the report that has to do with that COVID-19 that we spent 3 months at home without doing any business. Still on the note of appreciation, I will go to page 8, which has to do with the report of the MD, which shows us that we made improvement by raising our revenue up to 31%. I say kudos to the management. Still in the line of improvement, we got certification from ISO. And also, I'm looking at this annual report. The management did well using this annual report to show our product lines and the improvements, showing also the responsibilities within our environment. I say kudos to management. When you look at page 12 and 13, which has to do with corporate governance statement showing that the board and other committees did a great job by showing a lot of commitment. The board attendance at meetings were at least 90%. And also all committees did 100%, including the audit committee. And I want to appreciate the board also that we have a listening board. Why? Because I remember last year, we did accuse the board to make sure the audit committee have their meetings complete. And I am reporting now that yes, they have at least 4 audit committee meetings. I say kudos also to the management. I want to draw your attention, sir, to page 16. I want to know, I'm talking about opening shops and our products. This is very, very good, and we'll say, keep it up. My concern also goes to page 35, which has to do with share structure. All the shareholders there, especially the majority shareholders, are represented. But I want to ask, or going forward, please consider having the minority shareholders on the board. Page 38, which has to do membership of audit committee. Newcomer as amended 2020. Membership is now 2 directors and 3 audit committee members. I'm asking now the secretary to make sure that we fill that gap. Also talking about chairmanship of audit committee is no more vested in the board member, but rather shareholders representative. On page 45, which has to do with revenue, I'm concerned, yes, revenue rose from 13.8 to 18.2, but you will agree with me that cost of business drag it down to 1.1 or 1.2, which means that our cost of doing business is very high. I will encourage the management to look into cost elements, including the finance cost. Then, still on page 45, I want to take it with page 70. I want to talk on other expenses. If you look at other expenses, I'll need an explanation on professional fees, which rose from 86 to 225. That is for group, and for the company from 84 to 223. Still on that page 70, you see contract and support services, which rose from 77 to 128. When you talk of the company, from 74 to 126. Yes, and other, when you go through there, some of them rise while some went down. I want to conclude. On page 34, we did say no dividend. But I want to charge the board and management that since things are improving, now we are talking about increasing membership in the board. I want to put it to us that we need to as well consider paying dividend to the shareholders. On this note, Mr. Chairman, I will say thank you for giving me the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ike.
Thank you.
We just keep there. Thank you for your comments. They were mostly comments and, very insightful, and they are well noted. And the next question, please.
Okay, Mr. Adelako Lukman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, well-distinguished Board of Directors, all regulatory authority present here today, and my amiable and well-distinguished shareholders, audit committee members, and all the shareholders. I say good morning. First and foremost, I will like to start on the same note by the last speaker, which was on the note of appreciation. I want to join him to also commend the efforts of the board of the directors for their performance, despite the fact of what we went through as well in the country and in the world at large. Still, the company is still in existence, and they are still performing. We say a big thank you for that performance. Having said that, I want to also appreciate the certification gotten on food safety by the company. We, the shareholder, we really appreciate that. This shows that, yes, the board of directors and the staff of the company are really working very well. Keep it up. Thirdly, I want to also ask a question, which was the last question asked by the last speaker, that the shareholders are asking that when should we be expecting dividend from the company, because this is what we've invested on and we are looking forward that when we, the shareholder, will be happy when the dividend will be paid. Lastly, I also want to make a contribution or ask a question that apart from the Q service restaurants that the company is currently working on, are we not looking into another business diversification or new product development? For example, now, as we are sitting in this hall, either we like it or not, in our various homes, in various organizations, everybody will have to drink water. And with the shareholder, we are looking, okay, yeah, this is a food complaint into quick service restaurant. Can we also, diversify the business into water production? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lukman. We have, several points that are the same as the last one. The next question, please.
Yes, The next question is from Mr. Layembi Kazim.
Mr. Kazim.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Morning.
All protocol duly observed. My name is Layembi Kazim. Yeah, I personally just have to give thanks to the management teams for the results that we just received pertaining to the performance of the organization. There much has to go to the staff, because if they don't have dedicated staffs, I don't think nothing can be done. We just have to thank the management for encouraging the staff, because if the staffs are not encouraged, the best will not come out of them. And then these are companies more or less like an hospitality industry, because the way you attend to the guests will make them to come back in another time. You just have to thank the staff and then the management, most especially the amiable J, that is the company secretary, Josephine Johnson, and then the other board members, including the managing directors. We just have to thank you for a job well done. Then, why the only thing I'm asking for now, like the Highland where we came from, this full concept is not much noticed over there. Maybe we should extend, Lagos Island. Lagos Island. I know the management might be thinking about the security or any other thing. We have some other organizations that are not even up to the full concept that are operating over there, and they are making it. But with the standard of full concept, if we venture into that area, I am sure we will make it. And then at the end of the day, the profit margin and then the turnover will increase. And all these bonus or these things that the shareholder are asking for, by the time the company make a significant improvement, then they will remember the shareholders to give us the dividend, because we invested a lot here, and then wherever you invest, you just have to expect something that will come out from it. So I don't have much to say, because the earlier speaker have said a lot. Then to avoid the repetition, I just have to rest my case. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to come and speak.
Thank you very much. Company Secretary, shall we say one more question? Unless there is pressure.
Mr. Chairman, there are no more questions from the shareholders.
Okay. Thank you very much. We thank you for the points made. The questions were the same, and I assure you that the board and the management have taken notice of your suggestions regarding the business, particularly regarding dividends, which we assure you will be seen in not too distant a future. Thank you very much. Now, I lay before you the audited financial reports of the company. For the year ended 31st December 2020, together with the reports of the directors and auditors thereon. Hope everybody can see it. We've had all the questions. Thank you very much. There are 7 other items to be deliberated upon in the agenda for today. Now I call for a poll on those items on the agenda pursuant to Section 224 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act. Therefore, voting for these resolutions will be carried out by proxy. Please note that as they are all ordinary resolutions, each resolution requires 50% of the total votes cast in order to be passed. I will now invite the registrars, Mary Stem, to provide an explanation about the voting procedure. Meristem, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have received the proxies from the shareholders and they have been analyzed. So at each resolution, I shall be presenting the results of those proxies that have already been analyzed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next item is the retirement and re-election of directors by rotation. The next item on the agenda, in accordance with Section 259 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020, is the retirement of 1/3 of the directors. It provides that 1/3 of the directors, or a number nearest to 1/3, shall retire from the office of director at every AGM. You would have seen from the reports that 2 directors who are retiring by rotation at this meeting have also indicated their interest in being re-elected. They are 1, Mr. Babatunde Fajemiroku. You may see his bio on page 33 of the annual report. 2, Mr. Mark Stonham. His bio is on page 32 of the annual report. Thank you. This part of the proceedings inevitably takes time if a vote is taken on each director separately. However, if it is your wish, we can, under Section 261, Part 1 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020, deal with the re-elections by a provided that no votes against the motion that the re-election be dealt with in this manner. Would somebody please be willing to move the motion that the re-election by a single resolution by all the 2 retiring directors offering themselves for re-election be and is hereby approved? A shareholder, please. Company Secretary.
I so do, Mr. Adelakun Lukman.
Mr. Lukman, thank you. Will a shareholder please rise and second this motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Yua Ismaila Olalekon. I second the motion.
Thank you very much. I now put the motion to the meeting. May I call upon you by a show of hands to indicate first those in support of the motion? By a show of hands, please. Thank you. May I now call upon you all to indicate by a show of hands any objection to the motion? Would the registrar please announce the results?
Sorry, Mr. Chairman. I think what was just moved was for the
Could the registrar please?
So there's nothing to announce. It's for him to now move the motion to elect the 2. You can tell
The registrar, you have the platform.
Yeah, Yes, sir, you can move straight to, the shareholders have agreed to a single resolution.
So it's a unanimous, basically. Okay, thank you very much.
So we can move straight to passing that motion.
Thank you very much. The motion to re-elect is unanimously carried. I now propose the resolution that Mr. Babatunde Fajemiroku and Mr. Max Stoneham be and are hereby re-elected as directors of the company. May I call upon you by a show of hands to indicate first those in support of the motion and resolution? Right. Thank you. May I call upon you please to indicate by a show of hands those that object to the motion? Thank you very much. The motion is carried unanimously. I hereby declare that the resolution to re-elect Mr. Babatunde Fajemiroku and Mr. Max Stoneham is hereby unanimously carried. Please join me in congratulating these two energetic.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
The registrars would have to announce the results just formally.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right. Even though it's unanimous, please, the registrar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the re-election of Mr. Babatunde Fajemiroku and Mr. Max Stoneham, we have 70 shareholders and proxies, having a total of 25,547,851,366 units of shares. They all voted for the resolution. There was no vote against, and there is no abstention. Thank you.
Thank you. Following the results of the voting just announced, I hereby declare that the resolution to re-elect Mr. Babatunde Fajemiroku and Mr. Max Stoneham is hereby unanimously carried. Please join me in congratulating these two directors, and we wish them the best in the service of the company. They rise, please, and take a bow. Thank you very much. Okay, agenda item number 4. That's where we are, Josephine. Number 4.
Correct.
To authorize. Sorry?
You're correct, sir.
To authorize the directors to determine the remuneration of the auditors. I now propose that the directors be and are hereby authorized to fix the remuneration of the auditors. Will a shareholder please rise and second this motion? Please introduce yourself.
Hi, Mr. Olatunji Folonsho. I second the motion.
Thank you. Are there any questions before this motion is put to the meeting?
No question, Mr. Chairman.
In the absence of any questions, I now put the motion to the meeting. May I call upon you by a show of hands to indicate first those in support of the motion? Thank you. May I call upon you now to indicate by a show of hands your objection, if any, to the motion? I call on the registrar to announce the results of this poll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To authorize the directors to determine the remuneration of the auditors, received a total of 17 shareholders and proxies representing having 25,547,851,366 units of shares, representing 97.48% of the total shareholding of the company. All voted for the resolution. There was no vote against and there is no abstention. Thank you.
I therefore declare the motion carried unanimously. We now go to agenda item number 5, which is to disclose the remuneration of our managers. By the provision of Section 238 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act, a disclosure of the remuneration of managers of the company should be made at this annual general meeting. Accordingly, I request that you please refer to page 90, item 33 of the annual report for details of the remuneration of the managers as required by law. This is for information purposes only. Thank you. The next agenda item is the election of members to the Audit Committee. In line with Section 404, Part 6 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act of 2020, the board has nominated 2 members of two directors to represent it on the Audit Committee of the company. The 2 current nominees are Mr. Babakar Kar and Mr. Ade Folari Ogunsanya. Each should please rise to be recognized. Mr. Ogunsanya, thank you very much. The company secretary has reported that at the close of business on 26th nominations were received from members in accordance with Section 404, Part 6 of CAMA for the 3 position of shareholder members of the Audit Committee. They are Mr. Peter Eyanuku, nominated by Mr. Salau Mohammed Adebanjo. Mr. Salau Mohammed Adebanjo, nominated by Mr. Peter Eyanuku. And Mr. Layembi Kasim Adewale, nominated by Aliu Odunuga Samiat Adebanke. These shareholders should please rise to be recognized. Yeah, we do have 3 nominations for the 3 vacant positions. The Companies and Allied Matters Act stipulates that the Audit Committee shall consist of 3 representatives of the shareholders of the company. We have 2 nominees of the directors, and we are required to have 3 nominees of the shareholders appointed to the Audit Committee. We will now proceed to vote for the nominees of the shareholders. I think we are required to do this for each person. I present Mr. Peter Eyanuku to the meeting. May I call upon you by a show of hands to indicate first those in support of the motion? Thank you.
Yes, so the registrar will announce the result for Mr. Peter Eyanuku.
But let me ask, were there any objections from the floor?
No.
So the registrar should please announce.
Okay, sir, please proceed with the next ones with each of them, and
Okay.
then she will take the results at the end.
Very. I now present Mr. Salau Mohammed Adebanjo to the meeting. May I call on you by a show of hands to indicate first those in support of the motion? May I call on you to indicate those that object to the motion? I believe the registrar has taken notes. I now present Mr. Kasim Adewale to the meeting. Mr. Layembi Kasim Adewale, may I call upon you by a show of hands to indicate those in support of the motion? Thank you. I believe there were no objections. May I call on the registrar to please announce the results?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Votes for the audit committee members: for Mr. Peter Yanuku, we have 13 shareholders. For Mr. Salau Adebanjo, we have 14 shareholders. And for Mr. Kazim Adewale, we have 14 shareholders. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Registrar. May I propose that we adopt one resolution to elect the 5 members to the audit committee? Would someone be willing to move the motion that the election of the 5 members of the audit committee by a single resolution be and is hereby approved? Shareholder, please.
I so do, Mr. Chairman. Adilakun Lukman once again.
Thank you very much. Please, someone to second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Yua Ismail Alaleko. I second the motion.
Thank you. I now put the motion to the meeting. May I call upon you by a show of hands to indicate first those in support of the motion? Those opposed? Thank you. May I ask the registrar please to read the result of this poll?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All shareholders present voted for this resolution. There was no vote against. There is no abstention. Thank you.
Thank you. As there is no dissent to the proposal, we deal with the elections. Secretary, I think we can declare the motion carried unanimously.
Yes, sir.
Yes, there's a repetition there. If everything is in order, I therefore declare that the following directors and shareholders have been duly elected members of the Food Concepts PLC Audit Committee until the conclusion of the next annual general meeting in 2022, in accordance with the provision of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020. They are Mr. Babaka Ka, Mr. Adefolari Ogunsanya, Mr. Peter Eyanuku, Mr. Salau Mohammed Adebanjo, Mr. Layembi Kasim Adewale. I congratulate them on their appointment. Can we please give them some applause? Thank you. Well, this concludes the ordinary business of the AGM. We shall now move to the special business. The special business is an agenda item to consider and, if thought fit, to pass the following resolution. This item is to fix and approve the remuneration of the directors. I hereby move that the remuneration of the directors, as shown in the accounts on page 90, item 33.2, in respect of the year ended 31st December 2020, be and is hereby approved by members. May I ask a shareholder to please second this motion?
Once again, the name is Layembi Kazim Adewale. I second the motion.
Thank you. Are there any questions before the motion is put to the meeting? Are there any questions?
No questions, sir.
I call upon you by a show of hands to indicate first those in support of the motion. Thank you. May I now call upon you to indicate by a show of hands those that object to the motion. I now call on the registrar to announce the result.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a total of 70 shareholders and proxies having 25,547,851,366 units of shares, representing 97.48% of the total shareholding of the company. For the resolution to fix remuneration of directors, they all voted for the resolution. There is no vote against and there is no abstention. Thank you.
Therefore, I declare the motion carried unanimously. The next agenda item is to consider the change in the composition of the board. Special Resolution 1, that the maximum number of directors on the board of directors be increased from 9 directors to 11 directors, and the company's articles of association be hereby amended to increase the size of the board from 9 to 11. Will a shareholder please rise and second this motion?
Mr. Olatunji Folonshaw, I second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Folonshaw. Are there any questions before the motion is put to the meeting? May I now call upon you by a show of hands to indicate first those in support of the motion. Thank you. May I ask by a show of hands those that object to this motion? Now I call on the registrar to announce the results.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the resolution to increase the maximum number of directors on the board from 9 to 11, we have 70 shareholders and proxies having 25,547,851,366 units of shares, representing 97.48% of the total shareholding of the company. They all voted for the resolution. There was no vote against, and there is no abstention. Thank you.
I declare the motion carried unanimously. Thank you very much. There is a minor amendment to Special Resolution 2, and I'd like to ask the the Secretary to confirm that what we have here is in order. I would like to make a minor amendment to this resolution. Pursuant to Section 242(5) of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020, which provides for the correction of an error in the nature of the business set out in the notice, whether before or during the AGM, the resolution shall be amended by deleting "with immediate effect" and replacing with effect from the consummation of the acquisition by Legacy One Limited of the ordinary shares of the company from ADP One Holding 9, such that the amended resolution shall now read as follows. I believe that's clear. That the company's articles of association be and are hereby amended in the form and context set out in the annexure hereto, with effect from the consummation of the acquisition by Legacy One Limited of ordinary shares in the company from ADP One Holding. I believe that is clear. Will the shareholder please rise and second this motion? Please state your name and second the motion, please. Please go ahead. Wow. Josephine, something has gone wrong. Hello?
Sorry, I can still hear you. It appears Lagos.
Yeah, Lagos has blanked out.
Yeah, I can hear you too, sir. I think it's Lagos.
Josephine, can you hear us? Okay, we're back. Sorry, there was an interruption in the broadcast. Please introduce yourself and second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The name once again is Mr. Adelakun Lukman Adeshola. I rise to second the motion as amended. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I now put the motion to the meeting. May I call upon you by a show of hands to indicate first those in support of the motion? Would you please indicate by a show of hands those that object to the motion? May I call on the registrar to please announce the result of the poll? Registrar, please.
For the resolution to amend the article of association as proposed, we have 70 proxies as shareholders having 25,547,851,366 units of shares, representing 97.48% of the total shareholding of the company. All the proxies and shareholders voted for the resolution. There was no vote against, and there is no abstention. Thank you.
Thank you. I declare the motion carried unanimously. Well, shareholders, ladies and gentlemen, we have dealt with the formal business of this meeting. I would like to thank you on behalf of the Board of Directors for your attendance at this AGM, as well as your continued keen interest in the affairs of our company. I hereby declare the meeting closed, and we may proceed to leave the meeting after the national anthem. May we all rise for the national anthem, please. Hi, everybody.
Welcome to Food Concepts. We are a leading West African food retailing company with a focus on the quick service restaurants and baked goods. Since our inception back in 2000, our business has set out to challenge the status quo by delivering quality food products and services that appeal to modern West African customers. So, 2 decades later, with many learnings under our belt, our business vision remains clear: to be the most loved quick service restaurants and baked goods brands across West Africa. In line with that, we have 131 company-owned and franchise stores across Nigeria and Ghana. Let's take a look at a day in the life of Food Concepts to explore one of the greatest success stories in this sector in the last 2 decades.
Health, safety, and consumer protection are of critical importance to Food Concept, which is why we were awarded the ISO 22000-2018, the latest certification based on Food Safety Management System. We import nothing ourselves. Everything the business does supports grassroots entrepreneurship and goes back into the local economy one way or the other. Experience the unique blend of authentic West African spices every person that we employ on an ongoing basis. Training programs include inductions, management, and customer service. Our world of innovation places great value in recruiting, retaining, developing, and rewarding the highly talented individuals who take charge of their career whilst we provide the enabling environment to nurture it. We also recognize and reward our people with competitive salaries and of company, division, and individual performance.